am. I love this podcast summarization opportunity that AI is giving us now these days. I think that's just such an amazing thing that can help us get kind of the bullet points or the cliff notes, if you will, of a podcast. And I definitely think I'm going to rip that off and duplicate that for myself. Um, in the same vein, it's kind of interesting you were talking about podcasts because today I'm going to be talking about something a little more complex with podcasts, which is creating your own from content that you either curate yourself or from maybe documents that you need to share with others. In this example, I'm going to show you how to use tools like NotebookLM with ChatGPT and another platform called Audacity in order to make your podcast actually able to be uploaded to Apple or Google or any of the other podcast services. So let's dive in and get going. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I'm going to share the NotebookLM screen first. So we're going to talk about what is NotebookLM. A little pro tip for you. I actually use NotebookLM in my regular Google account because I have the Google One services, which allows me to have kind of what you would like to say an unlimited number. I'm sure there's a limit somewhere, but a pretty unlimited number of these notebooks that I can create and these audio overviews that I can create. And I recently noticed that there's video overviews, so I'll dive into that maybe in another video in the future. So definitely be on the lookout. Today, I've already kind of Rachel Raid, my favorite, like worked through the process with this, most of it beforehand, just so that I can make this video a little more seamless for you. Basically, what you do with NotebookLM is you can take any piece of content. So think about like market updates, maybe that you're sharing en masse, and you want to share with the general public. You maybe want to share information about understanding a buyer representation agreement or a purchase and sale agreement or a listing agreement or a showing agreement or any agreement that you might need to share with the public en masse or a client one-to-one. The other thing that you can do is you can take pieces of educational content, maybe that you have created for your business or your team that you wanted to share again with the public. Maybe you have a great first-time homebuyer seminar piece of content you want to share or a seller seminar piece of content you want to share. You can create anything using NotebookLM. And it's going to allow you to create not only an overview, like a briefing overview, it will give you the ability to create that audio overview. And that audio overview is just really what it is. It's a podcast style to host conversation. So let's dive in. All you would do to get started is to create a new notebook. When you create a new notebook, it's going to ask you to upload sources. So this could be one or more pieces of content that you want to share. You can use Google Drive, Google Docs, Google Slides, links, websites, YouTube, pasting text in, PDF files, copying and pasting, all of those things. So you can use all of that. In the example, I'm using this talking points for sellers and buyers, which let me just show you that document really quick. This is something that I pulled from our market statistics and had ChatGPT analyze and give me great dialogues for sellers and buyers around these different pieces of what's happening in our local market. So that's what we're going to work with today. And if we go back over here to NotebookLM, I'm just going to go to the notebook that I've already created. So when I uploaded this piece of content, it magically creates this kind of overview, if you will, right? So it kind of gives you a quick analysis of the data that you've put in there. So if it's a document, a form, a PowerPoint, anything, it's going to give you just like a really nice, like one paragraph overview. In order to really make this work, I've tried many different strategies to get it going. And what I've really found that works really well to get a great audio is to utilize a briefing doc. And so I've already created the briefing doc and it looks like this, okay? And so as we move from NotebookLM to ChatGPT through this process, I'm going to walk you through each step. So as we go here, I'm just going to copy this whole thing, right? We're copying that. And then over in ChatGPT, I have a prompt. So I already have a prompt that is instructing ChatGPT to not only create a podcast description, but it's also giving me like bullet points that I could put into that description, as well as the hosting tips and audience focus for this. So as we go through, I put the prompt in here, and then I added in this exact briefing document. Okay. So then as we get down here, this is what we have. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to give the hosting tips to ChatGPT, or from ChatGPT, excuse me, to NotebookLM. So I'm going back to the studio. How I created this audio overview was going to the triple dots on audio overview. Don't just click audio overview because it'll just generate a random one. And I click customize. And then I literally just pasted this in here. And you can change the length. Do I want it a longer form? Do I want it default, which is usually, I don't know, like 10-ish minutes, 15-ish minutes? Or do I want it shorter, right? Do I just want it really short and sweet? But basically what you're doing is you're just pasting in these hosting tips. So the pricing right matters, start with a story or statistic about overpriced homes, opportunities in the slower market, negotiation trends, and why it's important to act fast. And then you just click generate. Definitely make sure that you play this entire thing and listen to it and make sure that it did not hallucinate. It did not make up stories. It did not make up lies, right? Because it's only being fed a very small amount of information to generate the content, right? So it's working from this document or documents that you've given it, and it's working off of the briefing that you've given it. So as you go through there, just make sure you listen to it. So you can click play and it will play and you can listen to it. The next piece here is to download this piece of content. And what I will tell you is downloading this piece of content, it will download it into an M4A file. First of all, that file type is not the right file type for podcasting, right? I don't know if you guys are familiar with that or not, and it's important to know that's not the right format. I figured this out through a number of trial and errors to figure out exactly how to make this work. And I'm going to tell you exactly what I figured out. So what I will do typically is once I download the M4A file, I will go immediately to Convertio, which is a free conversion. I think you can only convert so many things a day. So you're probably not going to be pumping out, multiple podcasts a day. And yet this is a service that you can use. So if you just go in and you go to convert a file, I'll show you what that looks like. You'll choose your file. I'm going to grab the M4A. And then I'll just go here and say, I want an MP3 instead. And when I click convert, it will give me the opportunity to download said file. Okay. So I've converted it already, so you don't have to wait for all of that to happen because that's boring to watch. And I'm going to actually stop the share really quick and move over to another screen of a platform called Audacity. Again, as I was going through this process, I want to save you all of the heartache and trouble that I had trying to figure this out when we were working to put together some podcasts around some different training we had in our office. And what I found is that Audacity will allow you to not only take that MP3 file that you have now, which you're like, yes, I have the right file type. Unfortunately, the file type is not the right hertz for a podcast episode. So the hertz, obviously, it's very scientific. You just need to make sure that it is the correct hertz for a podcast. And Audacity will do that for you. And what will happen is I will now drag and drop my MP3 over into Audacity. And there it is. And if you even want to give it a quick listen, you can. Once it uploads here, you can hear
analyses, economic forecasts, local reports, and boil them down. Right. Analyses,
so you can hear it and you can know exactly what you're getting. And then inside of here, all you have to do is go up to the tracks button and go to resample. And once you resample, it's going to give you, it automatically defaults to 44,100, which is the exact hertz that you need it to be for podcasting. Okay. So once we do this, it's going to do the thing that it needs to do. And then I'm going to file, save or export audio. And I'm just going to go to my computer and I can name it or rename it or do something different here. I can put it in my documents file and export that. And it will take a few seconds for it to export. Now you are ready to take that audio file and put it into Apple, Google, YouTube, Spotify, whatever service that or services that you want to use as your podcast host platform. Definitely, you're going to have to go through some account setup with those platforms, which I'm going to spare you today. And yet, once you get here, you have now a full episode of a podcast or just an audio overview that's going to help people that you're sharing this information with have an audio copy so that they can understand exactly what you're trying to share with them. I think there's just something magical about being able to give someone something they can listen to. Because if we do this and we share that with them, then they can not only share it with others, like, oh, look what my agent sent to me, right? They can be in the car. They can be on the treadmill. They could be at the gym. They could be on a run. They could be anywhere and they can listen. Or they might not have the time or bandwidth to read. So I think that is something that really can help you set yourself apart from the rest of the agents out there, is when you're giving people auditory opportunities to learn or to communicate with them. It just gives a very clear communication. So again, make sure that you are listening to what is being outputted. And if you don't like it, retweak it until you get what you are looking for. And just something to be aware of, if you are feeding it information that has acronyms, you probably want to spell out the acronym instead of have it try to say the acronym, because sometimes it will do some weird things. For instance, I had a piece of content that I fed it with the acronym MOFIR, MOFIR, make offer for immediate response. It calls it a MOFIR. And there was nothing that I could do to get those voices to pronounce it correctly. So instead, I said, replace everywhere you see MOFIR with make offer for immediate response. It gave the instructions, it read the instructions, and then it was completely fine. So just know that it might do some odd things. So as you listen to it, just give it some corrections in that customization of the notes. And this is a super cool tool. And I personally think it's one of my favorite AI discoveries. So definitely tune in, because Evan is coming up next with something really cool. So Evan, I'm tossing it to you. Bye, y'all.
Hey, wait, no, seriously, subscribe. Do it.